Alright, in this tutorial I'm going to take you through how I like to edit images that have been shot outside in the full sun within Capture One 12. I'm going to try and make it relatively quick and easy, and obviously everyone shoots differently, but um, this effect will work for most images that have been shot in that good old-fashioned traditional way of having the sun behind the photographer and having your model almost blind themselves looking straight at you. Okay, here's our raw image. We're going to take this image here, and hopefully by the end of the tutorial we'll have an image that looks something like this. Okay, so you can see raw image on the left and final finished edit on the right. Let's get started. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to crop up the image a little bit. I might actually make the crop on this a little bit tighter than the one that we have in the finished image. Just center the model a little bit more. Okay, we'll go in and do some basic sharpening adjustments. You can see in the preview window it's sharpening it up already. I'm going to add a bit of film grain just to give it a bit of punch. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in, and because this is a relatively wide image, we don't have to go crazy with the blemish removals, but anything that's really obvious I like to get rid of. You know, it's really going to depend how much time you have on your hands. If you've got heaps of time, you can go through and do a completely flawless job. But this tutorial is really more just about showing you the color adjustments I like to make for images that have been shot in full sun on a beautiful sunny day. Yeah, look, I could really get in there and get some a few heel layers going, but you know, she hasn't really got. There's not really all that much to clean up. She looks pretty good. Sometimes these the spot removals can behave in very weird ways. Okay, getting close. Yeah, I mean I can. That's great. And quickly just clean this part of her knee up. I'm sure someone else watching this will be able to do a far better job than me, but you know, for this, that'll do. I might actually just just soften it out a little bit. That's right. Okay, that's looking good. We got rid of the majority of them. Okay, we're good to go. Move on to the color adjustment. So select the background layer again, and we'll go into colors. Now we're going to adjust the white balance. Now I know that I've got a preset sort of white balance in mind, so I'm just going to go ahead and adjust it 50 Kelvin of 5300. And my tint I'm going to just notch up to 2. Now my exposure, normally I wouldn't touch the exposure, but it's the easiest way of, you know, when everything's relatively balanced in terms of you know, your contrast, your shadows, your highlights in an image. Sometimes it is easy just to bump up the exposure just to brighten things up if you don't want to, you know, muck around with things all that much. Contrast, might just bump up the contrast a little bit, and you'll see why in a moment, because I'm going to start adjusting the curves. What's we got? I might leave the brightness for now. I'll come back to that, see if it needs any more adjustment. Now at the moment it's super colourful because it has been shot in full sun, so I'm just going to knock a little bit of the saturation out. You might not notice much of a difference, but it has made a little bit of a difference. So all those little adjustments that do make a big difference in the end. And it's about building, building on the original image. Okay, let's have a bit of a play around with the curves. I like to knock a bit of the brightness out of the the midtones, and then just sort of even things out by bringing a little bit of bumping up the shadows just a little bit. Okay, that looks all right. Just bring up the. Obviously, with the anchor point and the highlights, I'm really, I'm affecting the clothes because they're quite bright, and I'm affecting the sky and some of the white buildings, maybe your shoes behind. Yeah, quite like that. Just try to get that. I can fiddle around with this for ages, but that looks pretty good. Let's come into our high dynamic range setting as well. And I know what I'm going to adjust these to because I've had a look at how I adjusted it for the final image. So I'm just going to go right ahead and enter a value of 15 in both. Now that might seem sort of counterproductive to bring up the highlights and the shadows by an equal amount, but it actually removes a bit of contrast. There's not really any, to be honest, there's not really any rhyme or reason for the way I do things. I just know what works and what doesn't work. Actually, I might leave the shadows at around a value of about 10. I think that looks a little bit better. I don't want to wash them out too much. And the vignette we're going to leave alone. We don't really need to adjust that in this image. I'm going to go back and have a look at my my color channels a little bit more because I want to just slightly tweak the colors. Particularly the reds, it's just looking just a little bit too green. So I'm just going to bump up just the reds in general, just from a point on the right in the middle of the histogram. Now it's very, very minute adjustments. So I really don't want to take it too far. And our blues, I'm just going to try and remove some of the blues in the mid-tones. So just around this area here, and just adds it's a different kind of warmth that it adds. So just knock out just a little bit. Let's see the difference. Yeah, just a little bit, just ever so slightly. Okay. And you can nudge the that point once you've created it with your arrow keys. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks alright. Okay. Now we're going to get to the fun part, and I'm going to start adjusting some of the colors individually, which will really make a big difference to this image. I'm going to go into the color editor. I'm going to go back to the basic color editor first. Actually, while we're at it, we're going to come down to the color balance tool and actually just adjust the shadow tone a little bit. Just going to bring a little bit of sort of orange warmth into that. You might be looking at this image and going, oh, it's really definitely warm enough, but we don't want to take it too far, but yeah, just bring it up just slightly. Okay, now back to our color editor, and we're going to go in, and you can make adjustments through the basic color editor, but it doesn't really pinpoint exactly the colors that you're going to want to adjust for this effect. So we're going to go into the advanced, and we want the two biggest adjustments we want to make are to the greens. So let's pick a green point. It's pretty good. And now we're going to manually tweak this adjustment here just by moving things a little bit on the wheel. Just bear with me. And we're going to adjust the hue of the green. So once you've selected what you the colors that you want to adjust, you can see them. Which ones you're going to adjust by clicking this little tool down here. You can start adjusting them with the sliders. And you can see instantly, as soon as I start adjusting the hue, you can see how much of a difference that's making. Now, it depends what effect you want. If you want to, if you have that bright fluorescent look, or if you want to go for that sort of burnt look, you can adjust things how you please. But for the purpose of this, I'm going to take it down. I like a nice even number. Always like even numbers. Down to a value of 20. And we're going to knock a lot of the saturation out of the greens as well. So down to 35, and some of the lightness as well. Just darken it up. Darken those areas up. That looks good. Now, the great thing about this advanced color editor is that you can actually toggle the effect on and off to see what a difference it's making. And aside from the difference it's making to the grass, I like the fact that we're removing a lot of the green bounce on the buildings behind there, just cleaning that up a lot. Yeah, that looks good. She really, really pops now. Removing all that extra color, and she's really starting to stand out. Okay, the second thing we're going to adjust is we're going to adjust the blues. Now you can leave the blues alone, or you can leave them be. But I like to fiddle with, particularly when you've got a nice really bright blue sky. It's good to fiddle with them just a little bit. And I think just going to just tweak what we're adjusting. Let's have a look. Yep, that's predominantly the sky that we're going to be affecting. Down to 20, gives it more of an aqua sort of look. And we might just darken it up as well. Let's see how dark we want to take it. Yeah, I quite like that, because that is sort of yeah, it looks good. It's pretty good. Okay. Really adding a very bold effect to the image. Now I'm just going to pop back into Luma adjustments and just tweak a few more things. Just going to really drag up those highlights, add to that contrast, and I'm going to actually bring the shadows down just a little bit. Nudge that in. I don't want to, when you're adjusting this curve, you really don't want to go to the extreme where you've got you can see at the top here, you've got things flatlining and blowing out. That's taking things too far. You want to maintain a curve, at least some sort of a curve all the way through. But for these bold effects, you want to push things to extremes as far as you can without it looking silly. Now let's go back to our reference. I might have taken it a bit too far. No, that's looking relatively similar. I actually just knock out some more of the green in here. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay. Revisit the Luma, and you know what? That's it's pretty close. Pretty close. We might just pop back in and have a look at revisit these blues ever so slightly. Tweak them. Might just adjusting the brightness ever so slightly. Okay, look, I think, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Now that we've finished our editing in Capture One, the last stage is just taking it through, exporting it as full resolution export, and then just taking it through for a final skin brush through my favorite program, Skin Finer. Let's open that export. There we have it. And adjusting, I'm not going to go into full details, but just adjusting the skin mask so that we're making sure it's just her skin that's being affected. Now, I'm actually going to apply a preset that I have already created for the model. So we're not spending too much time in here. I'm just going to slightly adjust the skin mask a little bit further. Just so we're maximizing the amount of skin that it's affecting. There we go. That looks pretty good. And if we toggle on and off, we can see, yep, that's doing exactly what I want it to do. Let's go ahead and save that. And pop back into Capture One. And a quick look in the output folder. Okay, so here we have what we were aiming for, and then what we finished up with. A little bit less contrast in the one that we just finished up, but looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, if you get to the stage and you want to make some more adjustments, just come back to the image you're working on, make some more adjustments in Capture One, re-export, and then take it through for that final stage of skin smoothing once again. But there you have it. That's how I like to edit images that I've shot on location in full sunlight within Capture 112.